Welcome to the Self-Publishing Tips and Tricks Show, a series designed to give you insight into the world of self-publishing and marketing your books. Featuring your hosts, Shannon, the author behind the pen name S.C. Huston, Ben Pick, and Jamie, writing under the pen name J.M. Chaley. Join us several times each month when we interview authors about their self-publishing and marketing journeys, talk to industry leaders, and discuss books about writing, self-publishing, and marketing. Hi everyone, I'm Shannon, writing under the pen name of S.C. Huston, a fantasy romance author. I tend to write about characters who face adversity, become better versions of themselves, and there may or may not be dragons, but there's always love to find. And today's guest is someone who's very near and dear to my heart, Dale L. Roberts. If you've been listening for a while, you may remember that we've covered a couple of his books. In episode 88, we covered networking for authors, and then we also covered Amazon keywords for books in episode 71, but that one I think has been redone. Not only that, we've talked about Dale here on the channel quite a bit because he was also a longtime supporter of the AuthorTube Writing Conference. He was actually the first person I pitched the conference to, and he's been a supporter of that. And he's been someone that has been instrumental in my career here on YouTube and in the podcast space too, because he has his own podcast, and then also as a friend. And since then, he has joined the AuthorTube Writing Conference as a special guest speaker and the keynote speaker. So if you haven't caught those, please check those out. I always put a link to the last AuthorTube Writing Conference in the show notes and in the YouTube description box below. And Dale is now actually at a turning point in his career. He's preparing to retire from nonfiction and launch his very first Kickstarter on September 30th as he makes a leap into writing sci-fi horror. So I can't wait until you guys hear this conversation. I feel incredibly honored that he's joining us today. And I know this conversation will be one that I don't want anyone to miss, that I don't want you guys to miss. But let's first catch up on what's been going on in our lives. And surprisingly, we're actually recording this episode really close to the date that is coming out. So we all have fresh and current updates.
Yeah, I guess I can start off. So as Shannon said, time is relative. And so I'm going to be describing where I am right now, as opposed to some of our other pre-recorded episodes where I was trying to guess where I would be 6 months from then. And right now I have finished the first draft of my fourth novel. And so I'm working on editing it. So I will continue editing it definitely through the end of the year. I'm working at a snail's pace. This week didn't help work. I'm working 12-hour days. So hopefully the work-life balance will get back into normal and I'll be able to work on the fourth novel of my Into the Void series, which is all about teenagers with superpowers who join together, create monsters, and just try to live their best lives possible. So yeah, I in the near future, I'm working on edits, and hopefully as we approach the end of the season and when these future episodes air, I'll be closer and closer to at least 1 or 2 rounds of edits.
When do you think you'll be looking for beta readers for this one?
Next year, honestly. I don't have a timeline for this at all. Any timeline I did have has just been thrown out the window.
Gotcha.
So ideally spring of 2026, but I don't know how many rounds of edits I feel like going through.
And I'm Jamie, writing as J.M. Chaley. I guess I have some stuff going on. Right now, until September 30th, I'm having a sale for The Unlife of Lisa Cooper. The very first book, Conviction, the ebook is 99 cents. And I'm doing that because my second book in the series is coming out. So I want you to have the first book, right? In case you don't have it already. So the second book in the series, The Unlife of Lisa Cooper, Vengeance, is now available for pre-order, and it is being released on September 30th. So I'm psyched. You know, it's the second book in the series, and I can't wait for it to wind up in the hands of readers, and I hope they enjoy it very much. I'm also still writing. I have another project that I'm working on that when it's done, I'll be querying on to see if I can get myself an agent. Can't talk too much about it, but it's basically about a ragtag group of immortal beings who have been screwed over by Olympians, the Olympian gods. If you know anything about Greek mythology, you know that the Greek gods have basically, screwed over a lot of people. And some of these people have banded together into a little group where they've had enough. So my quest for an agent will begin with this book whenever it comes out, maybe sometime next year.
Nice. So your book comes out, your next book comes out on the day that Dale launches his Kickstarter. That's cool.
Yeah.
And that is up for pre-order. So we'll make sure you have that pre-order link down below. And also, we just did have his artist, Jamie's artist, on the podcast, who also did the second cover, which I think was beautiful as well. So
J.K. Woodward.
Yeah, J.K. Woodward. Go check that out for for sure. Okay, as for me, I'm coming out of a burnout. I realize I'm still kind of in a burnout, and I've been telling myself for 2 weeks I'm not getting sick today, and I've been able to avoid it. That today I woke up and my body was like, no, you're being sick today. So I've slept most of this day. But I spent all last month avoiding author admin, anything author admin. I think I did like the bare minimum. I wrote like 253,000 words. I wrote a lot last month. I had so many ideas come out. Like I did start back on my novel work in progress I was working on before the conference, and I read it the first day of August, and I thought, yeah, I need to get into this just a little bit deeper. I have all these other ideas. I'm going to do them first. So I wrote a novella and 3 short stories. They're all around 10,000 words. And then my novella was like 22,000 words. And then I wrote quite a few different outlines, and I have some ideas for some kind of like doing market research for writing. I'm trying to make myself to write short because I write way too long in my novels. So because that novella was actually supposed to be a short story. It did not be it's not a short story, but I will get there eventually. I'm actually getting there. It's getting better. I don't outline, but I find that if I outline for shorter works, it makes me stay shorter. So my outlines for my short stories are like 6 chapters. You might end up with like 8 instead, but I can actually keep it shorter. So I think it's definitely a different skill set, and I'm really trying it out. And I've been doing market research because if you keep it under 10,000 words, that hits 1 hour reads on Amazon. And my short stories are all part of a 8-part series that once I finish them all and go through beta and alpha readers, then I will publish them one a month next year, and try to hit that 1 hour reads. And 1 hour reads is there's less competition in 1 hour reads for fantasy. So I'm trying to hit that versus like the 1.5 hour reads. So my first time I'm really looking at like the market and what's like on Amazon itself and see what I can do to hit something specific on there. So other than that, this month I am trying to get caught back up on author admin stuff because I avoided it last month. But yeah. Alrighty. So those are our updates, and we're going to bring on our guest, Dale L. Roberts. He's a best-selling author, award-winning content creator, and trusted voice in self-publishing space. With over 50 books and 43 literary awards to his name, he has built a thriving author business by doing exactly what his books teach, building direct and lasting relationships with readers. As the founder of Self-Publishing with Dale YouTube channels with more than 124,000 subscribers combined, Dale has helped thousands of authors grow their platforms through ethical marketing, strong branding, and consistent action. From his early days struggling to get a dozen email subscribers to now reaching thousands each week, Dale shares his hard-won insights so indie authors can skip the guesswork and start making real progress. Whether you're starting from zero or scaling an existing list, his no-fluff approach to email marketing will help you connect with readers and grow a strong author-driven business. And there's actually just so much more to what he can offer than just email marketing. And we're going to get into some of that today as we bring him on. Hello and welcome, Dale.
Great to be here. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I don't know why I did that. It was just weird. Anybody's listening to an audio version of this, they're like, what did he do? You're going to have to go watch the video, I guess.
Yes, you will.
And it's so funny as you're kind of gushing over things. It's email marketing for authors just launched a little over a week ago. And that's why I always, this is a little bit of a tip I try to tell people is you always need to adjust your bio according to the book that you're wanting to go ahead and promote. And so that's why you have email marketing for authors there. And that actually is still hanging about #1 in various regions. So I'm really, really pumped about that. But I got to back up for just a second. And I don't think anybody can really appreciate. Did you say 253,000 words last month?
I did, yes.
I'm sorry. I just soiled my pants. That's all. Good Lord. I am lucky if I break like 6 figures in a month. You did it like it was nothing. And you said you're burnt out. I can't say I blame you.
Not burnt out from writing. I'm burnt out from the conference. Well,
yeah, it's true. You and I have had that conversation before about, it was a lot of work. Oh my gosh, of course.
Well, and I had a Kickstarter going at the same time. And so just all of that all together, and I put so many hours into it, and I wasn't able to write for like almost 2 months.
Wow.
So writing is
for last time.
And
That's incredible.
I actually crossed my yearly goal for my word count that I set for myself this year. I set 700,000 as my yearly goal, and I crossed it last night.
Wow. Congrats. That is nothing to sneeze at. I never thought about doing an annual goal. Almost always think from like a daily goal perspective, but that's amazing like that you go for such a huge goal. Have you had any problems meeting like such a high threshold like that?
Well, I track everything. been tracking everything for 3 years now. I have a spreadsheet. I track what project I'm working on, what process I'm in, whether I'm brainstorming, drafting, editing, or revising, because I just switched those up, revising or editing. Sorry, it's in that order. How long, how many minutes I go for, and then how many words I write. And sometimes that could be 0, because my brainstorming is sometimes just me sitting here thinking. And that was more along the lines of me wanting to track, how do I spend my time in the writing process? How much am I spending it? What am I doing? And from the first year, I could see that my typing speed was 3 words a minute. And so then I really leaned into dictation, because I speak much faster than I can type, and I'm a slow typer. So I've always been a slow typer. So I dictate. And so the first year, I think I set a goal of like 400,000, and I met it. I did not meet it. I hit 314,666 words. And then last year I set a goal of, I don't know why I remember the first year. The second year was like 600 some thousand words. And because I knew we were cutting back on a lot of other stuff in my author life, and I exceeded it last year, but I was like 750,000 last year. And then, but this year I thought, well, I'm not gonna go higher than 750. I need to go lower, because I have a Kickstarter I'm doing this year, which I didn't do last year. And so I was trying to account for that. I did not know I was gonna be writing 253,000 words in just 1 month. It just, the words were pouring. It was all dictation, but the words just poured out of me, just like blah. I was doing 12,000 words like a day, basically just blah. I call it verbal vomit, but some people really don't like the sound of that. But I like alliteration, and it's very useful for what I'm doing. So
it's impressive. That is a lot. Now, I know you had initially had. It seems like I'm turning around on you guys. I'm going to interview you guys today. That's it.
Yeah, you've had a couple people who've done that to us.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, because you were one of the ones that had introduced me to ProseWrite, which, by the way, thank you so much. Big shout out to the gang over at ProseWrite. Amazing voice dictation software. Now, are you using that, or are you using just the old school method of are you speaking it out, like the punctuation, next line, all that stuff?
So I use speechtexter.com, which is, you have to do a punctuation. I can't say next line, because I am partially tone deaf. I don't enunciate, and it always tells me I'm lying. I say next line, it says you're lying.
You're lying.
So I just have my finger over the enter button, and I just hit enter when I need to go to the next line. And then I just plug that into ChatGPT now and tell it to put the punctuation in there if I'm whatever, because sometimes I miss it. Sometimes I have run-on sentences. I say put the punctuation in there, and to capitalize anything that's a proper noun or the beginning of sentences, and it fixes it all for me.
Nice. That is super cool. I need to start setting goals. That's it. I got to step up my game. I'm going to shoot for 10,000 words this year.
I can't do a daily goal, because then I start, I didn't meet my 1,000 words today. And then next day, okay, so 1,000, I got to do 1,500 today. Oh gosh. And my brain does not work well with that. So I found yearly goal worked so much better for me.
Interesting. I definitely think it's achievable, especially with the voice dictation, because you are a great talker. And I think that definitely lean into it if you can do it really well. Michael Iran, fantastic at doing voice dictation.
Yes.
Like it's like second nature. He's, I don't know, exercise bike, and he's fielding phone calls and like doing voice dictation at the same time. The man's insane, by the way. And I say that with all love. I love me some Michael. He's awesome. A fantastic guy. But yeah, he's pretty crazy.
So now if I'm out and about, what I do is I open an email in my Gmail, and I use voice dictation. I use voice dictation on my phone. So I voice dictate into my email and then send it to myself.
Yes. There's been some times I've gotten some texts, and you're like, you have to like, no, that's not what I meant.
Yes. I said, hey, buddy, I think is what it said, or something like that. I'm like, I don't talk like that.
Yeah. Hey, buddy. I was just kind of like, I went with it. If you would have said, dude, man, anything like that, it's fine. If you've been like, hey, jerk, I would have been like, all right, what's going on here? Why are you insulting me now?
All right. Well, let's get back on track on Dale. So again, welcome. You take a moment to tell us about your journey to writing nonfiction and self-publishing.
Oh man, let me give you the shortened version, because everybody's heard this story so many times before. But for those of you that aren't familiar, over 11 years ago, on August the 28th this year would have been when I left my day job to pursue a career as a full-time author. I'd actually worked in the healthcare industry as an activities director, meaning that I got paid to play with senior citizens. It was wonderful, awesome job. Not quite as nice as being a full-time author, hence why I went and pursued this. And it sucked first 2 years. I was lucky to make any amount of money. Like, we're talking small paydays and even smaller meals, and some worries of like, am I going to have to go back to my day job? But thankfully I stuck to it. I hired a good coach, and the business took off. But now here I am. And I don't know how many nonfiction books I've done, because there was a bunch of the fitness books that I did. I've done some of the self-publishing ones as well. So generally speaking, I always tell people I've done over 50 publications. But if you go over my good Goodreads, you will see that there's over 105 books actually credited to the Dale L. Roberts brand. A lot of that too might have to do with second editions as well as translations too. So I've done 7 different languages beyond English. So that is my nonfiction journey. And it's one of those cases, it's been wonderful. It's been nice. But Shannon, I don't know if I've ever shared this with you. And I know Ben and Jamie, you probably haven't heard this, is like, I like nonfiction. It's great. I love fiction. Fiction is just something that I can just escape in. Nonfiction, I've got to stay alert. I've got to do my research. I got to do this and that. Whereas it's like, we're fiction writers. We get paid to be professional liars, essentially. So, and you can't lie in your nonfiction books. Fiction books, though, can be a lot of fun. And I have to be honest with you that probably for the past 5-6 years now, I have leaned on nonfiction books a little too much, because there's a part of me, I know this, and I'm saying this publicly, I will say it out loud, is there's a confidence issue. You build confidence as an author. And when I was doing my nonfiction books, I built a lot of confidence. I'm so confident about doing it. I could probably crank out another book. I'm not going to do it, though. Fiction, though, I just didn't have that confidence at all until a mutual friend of yours and mine, Shannon, Jeannie DeVita. I worked with her for over a year in 2022, and that's when I got my confidence, and I was like, I got to do this. So for the past few years now, I have been looking at this time and saying, I'm going to be done with nonfiction, so that way I just go 100% into fiction and go all in, because this is my childhood dream. I've wanted to be a fiction writer since I was a kid. When I was a kid, I didn't think, oh, I want to go write a bunch of books about fitness and self-publishing. I said, actually, I want to grow up and write fiction novels when I grow up. Because I looked at people like Stephen King and Dean Koontz and a number of other ones, Ray Bradbury, a lot of them, like, it was so inspiring to me, and I wanted to be just like that. So everything's finally coming to fruition, thankfully. We're getting towards the end of my nonfiction run and forcing my hand to go into fiction.
And I want to make a couple of notes there. So you started off with writing the nonfiction books with the nutrition and exercising, stuff like that. That came out of you having a career as a wrestler. So there was something that came from.
Right.
It's really interesting.
It's not too many people realize this. Whenever I bring up the pro wrestling thing, they think it's just a joke or whatever. And I'm like, no, actually, I was a pro wrestler off and on from about 2002 to roughly 2011. I was trained by Lance Storm, a former WWE superstar, and Shark Boy from TNA, a number of other ones. I got to travel all over the world. It was wonderful. But in being in the wrestling business, one of the things I discovered was there was just a lot of wrestlers that really needed help with their exercise routine and getting in shape. And that was a common thing. I go into a locker room, I look good. I was 220 pounds, 6'2", 10% body fat, sometimes got up 12%, but who's counting? And so I had wrestlers that would come up to me and ask me questions all the time. So that's when I said, okay, that's it. I'm going to become a personal trainer. I'm just going to go ahead and start to learn this stuff so that way I can start to hand this on, because it's going to be a great networking tool for when I get into the pro wrestling business all the way. And it worked. It really did. Because I was doing wrestling, being an activities director was not the best idea, because there were times that I would come into senior citizens would see a black eye or a busted lip, and they would see me limping around, things like that, and they inevitably would crack up laughing. So that's why I ended up going into being a personal trainer for about roughly 4.5 years at a chain gym. And it treated me really well until I was like, you know what, I pretty much know how to run a personal training business. So then I started doing it on my own, independently, away from that gym for another couple of years after that. But all that to say this, that, it was the wrestling that I got into fitness. And I got into being a trainer because of the wrestling. And because I had a personal training career, I was able to kind of call my own hours. I would be able to go wrestle up in Michigan one night and then be up at 6 a.m. the very next day training my clients. And it was always a hoot whenever I'd show up with a black eye and, a busted lip. Clients were always just like, oh, what did you do this time? Did you lose? It was always like, did you lose? I'm like, how about say I won? All right. Like come on.
What does the other guy look like? No.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the other point I wanted to make was that even though you are switching over to fiction and writing your sci-fi horror, this is not the first time you're actually just jumping into writing fiction, because you did do Kindle Vella for a little while, and I'm not. Yeah. So now this is where you get to just go all into it instead of having, split between that and nonfiction. So
yeah, for sure. And, doing Kindle Vella really was that litmus test to see if I could finally not hide behind a pen name, because that's what I did for a number of years. Is I would write under pen names, and I still won't share it to this day. But people will be able to see publicly, especially now, because my name will be my full birth name, Dale Lewis Roberts. So when people look up my sci-fi horror books, they'll be able to see that. But yeah, I did the Kindle Vella series, and that's actually how I know JM, because I used to watch his videos about Kindle Vella, and I was constantly just trying to consume as much as I could about Kindle Vella. Rest in peace. But
Yeah.
it was good while it lasted, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a shame.
For sure.
All right. So, well, you've been a trusted voice in the indie publishing world for over a decade. We've covered all that. But when you first started your YouTube channel, though, did you imagine it would become the cornerstone of so many author careers, including mine?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's not me trying to give you guys false modesty or trying to be humble over here by any stretch. I fell into YouTube by accident, and it was through 2 interviews that I had in early 2016, January 2016, that I did on YouTube channels. And the 2 YouTube channels, they're no longer doing anything. But at that time, they were big in the self-publishing space. They saw I was having breakout success in January 2016 for my fitness books, which oddly enough, if you're writing fitness and you're not selling books in the month of January, you're doing something wrong in your marketing, because every January I would boom, just those sales just shoot up every time. I love it. But I'm sorry, where were we going with this year? Dale just got completely
Being
derailed.
a cornerstone of so many other.
I just didn't. It was when I had those interviews, I got flooded with a lot of DMs and emails and stuff. And I'm not the type of person that likes to say no. I don't like to reject people. And especially when you're other indie authors that are struggling and trying to do what I'm doing. I don't look at it as a competition. I truly believe that us indie authors, if we can stick together, we can all win together. And so I just shot these videos as answers to people's common questions, and then I would just upload them. It wasn't until about a year into it, because I started April 2016, it was probably June 2017, that I finally looked at it and I said, oh, this really can be something big. This can be something I can sink my teeth into, because I was finding I was falling in love with video creation as much as I love to write books and publish books. And when I fell in love with it, there was no turning back. There was a lot of times I was in denial, though, Shannon. I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, that I truly was like, I'm just an author. I'm just an author. And sometimes some people will come up and be like, oh, you're a video creator. You're just trying to take people's money and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I'm not a video creator. I felt guilt for sharing this information. So for the longest time I hid. And nowadays I'm proud of it. I'm super proud of the fact that I'm an author and I'm a video creator, and I love both of them equally. Do I believe everybody could be able to do the same thing that I'm doing? Probably not. It's insane. The man who chases 2 rabbits gets none. In my instance, I get a little bit of something, but nonetheless, though, yeah, I didn't think it was going to be the cornerstone. I didn't think, this is the part that blows me away sometimes, and a lot of people won't be too impressed about this, but I have contacts at every major self-publishing company. And when I say contacts, it's not just some support rep. We're talking the people that are behind the scenes putting together these things. KDP, Publish Drive, Drafted Digital. I got a lot of friends at Drafted Digital. Love those guys to death. Kobo Writing Life, got some friends over there. Later Press, there's so many. I got so many great contacts, and to me, that's the most fulfilling part, is that they're able to communicate with me, and I'm able to communicate with them. And I typically try to act as a mouthpiece for the indie author community. Yes, I listen to people. Yes, I pay attention to those comments that people are posting in my videos, and I also try to get it over to the necessary resources and peers within my network so we can be able to address those things. But no, did not. Not in a million years would I have guessed that YouTube was going to be on my roadmap. It was not in the cards at all. I was just planning on becoming an author, and now it's a natural part of my everyday life. If I'm not writing a book, I'm writing a video. If I'm not writing or producing a video, I'm writing a book.
Nice. What was the moment when you realized that self-publishing wasn't just something you did, it was a mission to teach and uplift others in the industry?
Man, it took a while. Initially, doing the YouTube stuff was a means to an end. I just wanted to clear my plate. But it wasn't until I started getting comments or I get emails from people just expressing extreme gratitude for helping them out. And to me, it's always kind of felt like not much to me. I don't feel like it's much to me because I'm giving you information that either I've learned through trial and error or I've picked up through experts, But yeah. Again, kind of goes back to the whole thing of like, I just didn't know that I was going to put myself into this position that would help out so many authors. Does that help kind of cover the question? I'm sorry.
I think so. And I think it's just part of your personality.
Yeah.
It's not something you consciously do. It's just part of what makes you happy.
Yeah. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that sometimes they'll watch YouTubers and they go, oh, they're just doing it for the money. Well, yeah, it's a job. It's a job. I'm very real about it, for sure.
It's time to make a video.
It does. A lot of people just because not a lot of people don't realize that some of my videos will take upwards of 12 to 24 actual working hours to produce. So if you're ever watching like Book Rescue, oh gosh, each one of those episodes took anywhere from about 24 to 48 hours of actual work. And it was nuts. And that part was just the craziest part. But yeah, there are so many times where sometimes people will look at the YouTubers and go, oh, they're just doing it for the money. Look, yeah, sure. I'm going to definitely make some scratch. You see a sponsorship on there? I'm making money there. If you're on YouTube, making money there. If you see an affiliate link, I'm making money there. Absolutely. But guess what? Every single time I deliver the goods. I'm not just going to be sitting here giving you guys a bunch of BS fluff stuff. And when I'm wrong, and I've been wrong before, I come out and I own it 100% to the public. There's been many times I've had mustard on my face. It sucks to be wrong. There was one time I did a video update when Findaway Voices had rolled out the changes for royalties for Spotify. And I misspoke in the video. I meant to say 50%. Instead, I said 80%. And I didn't just say it once. I said it many times. And I didn't realize until there was easily 10,000 views within the first day. Within the first day, I had to delist that dang thing. And I literally felt like crying. I wanted to cry. I wanted to crawl up into a ball. And I was just like, you know what, dude? No. Go out there and tell people you messed up. Apologize to Findaway Voices, which, by the way, they laughed at it. They're like, get out of here, dude.
It probably got more people interested in checking them out, to be honest.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it is very interesting, this whole YouTube business and such, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's so fantastic.
So you've long emphasized treating self-publishing as a business. For authors who are trying to make that mindset shift, what's the first step they can take towards, long-term sustainability?
Goals. Absolutely. There's going to be some people out there that are probably cringing right straight out their boots because they're like, goals and goal setting. Absolutely. Set some goals. I want you to think about this, Jamie. How crazy would it be for you to go into a packed bar and you're going to get blindfolded and you're going to play darts with people? By the way, it's a packed bar and there's going to be some people that are probably 10 times your size and ready to go. Would you want to be throwing that? You probably aren't going to hit your target. And if you do, congratulations. Every blind squirrel gets their nut. I think that's what the whole phrase goes. But for the most part, it is a good idea to take the blindfold off and pay attention to where you're throwing that dart. Do you need to write it down? Go ahead. If you want to put it over on a document, go ahead and do that. Just so long as you know the direction in which you are going, that's going to be the thing that makes the biggest difference. For me, I would say, just walking this back here, Jamie, this is the part that you're going to probably die laughing on, is when I had my first payday, I was still in my 9-to-5 job, and I got my first paycheck was from CreateSpace, was $21 and some odd cents. And I need to go back and look at that first paycheck. I always say some odd cents. It's $21 either way. And that was enough proof of concept to me to just burn the boats. I went, I sat down, spoke with my boss, told him, hey man, love it here, but I got to go do this. And he was so supportive. I put in my 30-day notice. They let me go, and I went and did my thing. And for the first year and a half to 2 years, it sucked so bad. Don't quit your day job. Keep that as a side hustle. I know that it will probably take you away from your dream, and some people will go, oh, that's a plan B. No. Make it a plan A of, let me continue to go to a job, earn some money so I'm not, going broke, because being an author is not a cheap endeavor sometimes. So keep that job, work it on the part-time, and there's going to be some people out there it's going to be really tough. For instance, it's a tough ask for someone like my brother. He works anywhere from 40 to 60 hours per week. He takes care of his family, things like that. So by the time he gets home, he's not thinking about that. But I think that if you know where you're going and the direction you want to head in and the goals you want to fulfill, you'll be fine. Will you miss some goals here and there? Absolutely. Give yourself some lenience, but just remember, take the blindfold off. Don't throw that dart at the dartboard unless you actually can see that dartboard and you know exactly the direction you're going.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Didn't Stephen King, he like worked like full-time job. He'd come home and he had like a little broom closet he'd go into and write until he finally made it.
Yep.
And that was,
Teacher.
that was
Can you imagine if Stephen King was your teacher? Like,
no.
how rad would that be?
Right.
Yeah.
So how can authors stop chasing, and because you do have all these contacts with these different platforms, with different organizations out there, pros, right, all these, there's lots of new trends, new tools, algorithms, all these things that you can, look into as an author. Like you said, you got to have a goal. How does someone figure out how to stop chasing all these different things and choose something that's going to build something that's going to be a lasting foundation for them?
Oh man, the shiny object syndrome.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I've got some friends that are like that. Big shout out to my boy Darren up there in Canada, my Canadian buddy. He is that type of person. He has so many courses and so many licenses to different software. I'm probably not exaggerating. Tens of thousands of dollars that he has in all these types of things because he does see these sexy things and goes, "Ooh, I want that. Ooh, I want that. Ooh, I want that." This is where you're going to need to walk it back. And again, this is something I was kind of discussing here with Jamie, and that setting goals is so important. Because you know the direction in which you're going. So then you'll know, does this serve my goal? Okay. So for instance, for you, Shannon, let's say, for instance, you say, Dale, I'm not liking my voice dictation software. It sucks. I really want to try something out. Then I would recommend something like ProseWrite because that makes sense to your goals for the direction in which you're going. However, it wouldn't make any sense if I were to come to you and go, hey, I've got this new marketing software that will take your book and it'll give you a marketing plan based on the stuff that it feeds over to AI. And you're going to be like, well, no, I don't need anything for marketing. I need something that will help me voice dictate more efficiently.
That was your last email you sent me.
Yeah, exactly.
The manuscript report email you just sent me was about what you just said.
So yeah, it really is, and it's no knock on manuscript report by any stretch, by the way. Yeah. I just, there is going to come so many times that you're going to get distracted as an author. There's going to be so many people, they're going to have their opinions about this. They're going to have their opinions about that. Just know the direction in which you're going and never flag, never falter. Just keep pushing forward and believe beyond a shadow of a doubt you're going the way you need to go. I can't tell you how many times in the past decade, well, at least it's near decade now, I've been on YouTube, how many people come and give me advice. And it's absolutely just baffling too, because sometimes some of these people that are leaving comments probably haven't even done much in their business whatsoever. So just understand that you will get distracted from time to time. Just know when you're getting distracted and forgive yourself and say, how can I better address this? So that way it does not become a distraction. So that way it does not derail my mission in the direction in which I'm going.
And so I would like to note too that email that I received was part of Dale's newsletter. He does send out newsletters in which he'll let you know about the newest things that are out that he's trying out. So that's what the manuscript report we were just talking about. I just thought that was funny. That was the example you gave. And I was like, oh, that was your last email.
Yeah, hopefully Florin's not listening, just going, is he knocking my stuff? No, Florin, that's not the case.
No. It just so happened to be what was in the last email. So because I tried it. It was not bad. So
it's okay.
I liked it. So yeah.
Alternatively, what if you want to embrace the shiny new thing syndrome? You mentioned building up relationships with platforms like Amazon KDP, Drafted Digital, Lulu, and the rise and fall of Kindle Vella. What's your advice for indie authors who want to stay current with publishing shifts without getting overwhelmed?
Subscribe to my channel and my podcast.
Newsletter.
My newsletter. That's one of the things I really tried to do is I put myself into a position that for someone like you, Ben, or for Jamie, or for Shannon, that you guys can continue to do all the stuff that you need to do and just trust that I'm going to curate all the information that you're going to need. There's been rare occasions in which I've let news slip through the cracks. And in instances where it's delayed, it's typically either A, I'm confirming with sources, or B, it just is not as newsworthy as I feel it should be. Whenever I get pushback, though, sometimes there's some people who are like, why aren't you reporting about this? Okay, I'm on it. There we go. But what I would say is to make things a bit more efficient for yourself. Let's say you want to keep yourself in the know. One of the things I would recommend to you, Ben, is Google Alerts is fantastic. And I would recommend this to all authors. You should have a Google Alerts for your author name. It's a good ego stroke, I'm going to tell you, because every now and then you'll see something pop up and you didn't do it. Put your name inside Google Alerts. The other thing would probably be specific trigger words. So let's say I want to hear more about Kindle Vella. I'll go ahead and put Kindle Vella in there. And then once a week, I think they even have a daily option as well, they will send a completely curated list of different posts that are online that will help me kind of go through and say, okay, yeah. Okay, that's good. No, toss that out. So that would be one way. Or subscribe to email newsletters or subscribe to YouTube channels that actually will take care of that for you. You should, as an author, do your due diligence. You should research. You should be aware of where you're walking into before you do walk into it. And I think that's where, if you can just stay plugged into the indie author community and the author community at large, you'll be able to get all the information that you need to. I see far too often, and this breaks my heart every single time I see it, where I see a lot of indie authors that are trying to do it all alone. They're trying to do it by themselves. So let me go ahead. I'm going to subscribe to this newsletter. I'm going to go to this YouTube channel, blah, 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 blah. One of the best ways to keep yourself up to date and in the know, talk with other authors. I guarantee you, Shannon and I, we text on the regular, so we're communicating. Shannon's communicating with Ben and Jamie. Think about reaching out to other authors. Now, if you're a kind of person, you're like, Dale, but I'm an introvert. I'm an introvert too. Yes, believe it or not. Even though I've stuffed the camera on my face and sometimes I smile entirely too much, I'm still an introvert. I'm still the type of person that it's tough for me. You just have to get out of your own way. So I would recommend going into any community, be it Discord, Facebook groups, even KDP's pretty wild and wacky community forum. You'll be able to find some other authors that you can connect with and chat with. And will you find them right away? Maybe, maybe not. You just got to give it a chance and start networking with other authors.
Let's talk about your Kickstarter. This is your first and your grand finale to your nonfiction career. Why did you choose Kickstarter to close this chapter or start this new chapter of your career?
It comes down to the fact that I've built this whole career not on my own. I've built this with a community, and the successes and the awards and the exposure all comes because of the people that have supported me. You know, folks like you guys. Like, I think it's incredible. By the way, I've watched both of your review videos, and Shannon, you've even done other review things as well. You guys are fantastic. I love that. That is really cool. By the way, one of the quickest ways to my heart is not just posting a review on my book over on Amazon, post a video review. That makes my friggin' day. I love it. Even if you've beaten me down, I still love seeing a video. But I chose Kickstarter because, well, I'm going to blame Shannon. I'm throwing Shannon straight under the bus because her very first Kickstarter, I was so inspired by her and what she was doing and what she had accomplished so fast. I was like, you got to do that for me. And that actually was the conversation. I reached out to Shannon and I'm like, hey, because I did like a brief hiatus from doing any conferences and in-person things. I was just like, I'm not doing any. And then the third year of AWC, she comes along and I was like, look, I'll do it for you if you help me set up my Kickstarter campaign. And she agreed to it, which, by the way, I let her off the hook. I ended up hiring the Inkfluence, Dana Claire, a good friend of ours. But Kickstarter was all Shannon. I watched her and I was inspired, and I'm furthermore inspired when she did a second campaign and successfully launched it. So I was just like, it is super cool. I really wanted it to be me and the community of authors. I didn't want to have Amazon coming in. I didn't want Drafted Digital coming in. I didn't want Ingram Spark coming in. I wanted it to be like a private party. Like, it's all of us. We're building this massive thing. And part of that Kickstarter campaign, the last 3 books are coming out all at once. Now, the last 3 books, ready for this? They're actually the second edition to my Amazon self-publisher series that I launched over 5 years ago this month. And I was like, if I'm going to do a second edition of these things, I'm going to make this my big period on the nonfiction sentence. Now, just so as an aside here, so everybody's not like calling me out later on, I will be doing updates of those books, but I will not be including additional nonfiction books. And when I update them, it'll probably be another 5 years from now. It's going to be a while. But nonetheless, I'm getting those 3 flagship books. That entire series ended up getting 22 book awards in all. It was just incredible. So now it's going back and revising, rewriting, and updating it to today's standards because a lot has changed. Heck, I had launched Amazon reviews for books. Literally, the time I released it, one of the things was already outdated, and it was leaving comments on reviews. You could actually used to comment on reviews on Amazon. Yeah, literally as soon as it goes out, I saw that and I was like, oh, come on, why? Why? Just give it to me another 6 months. Like, they didn't even give it to me for 6 minutes for that thing to be out. So naturally, I got called on that one. They were like, hey, there's no comments in here. I'm like, yes, I know. But Kickstarter, it is all about community. I really want to get connected, and I don't want a middleman getting in between this. Now, I will eventually release those last 3 books, but it's not going to be until deep into 2026 after all of my Kickstarter folks have had their stuff fulfilled. Hardcover, gold foiling, sprayed edges. It's the works. I'm so excited about it.
I wanted to talk on the when you said what to your heart, how to get to your heart, because I remember, I had pitched you the conference back at the end of 2021, and you came onto the conference and whatnot, and then people afterward, like over the next couple of years, were like, "How did you get Dale to be part?" So those who are not on YouTube, because this does go on podcast platforms, those not on YouTube, not familiar with Dale. Dale is a pretty big presence on YouTube here in the author indie community. So people are like, "How did you get Dale involved with this? How did you even meet him?" I was like, "It just happened." I was like, I think really it was just interaction. I interacted on his channel, he came over to my channel, and it was just I said that's the best way. It was like I didn't go on my way to be like, oh, here's this big person, I'm gonna go talk to him. I was like, actually, the first time he said live on his channel, Shannon, reach out to me, I was like, did he just say my name? Nope, I'm not doing, not touching that. And then the next time I came onto a live, you're like, Shannon, you did not reach out to me. I'm like, I guess I have to now.
Yeah, I called you out in front of everybody. I don't remember that, but that's one thing that's, and I'm going to stroke your ego here, and then maybe the guys can be able to agree with me, but you have such a positive, uplifting nature to you that just being around you and speaking with you makes me feel better. Like, I could come into any situation, like if I'm angry, upset for whatever reason, I get connected with you, I feel instantly better. And I'm so glad that you did reach out to me. But yeah, that was, and this is something I try to tell people, especially when you're trying to, make inroads with influencers that are within your genre. One of the worst things you can do is go over and beat up the person on top of their head, be like, go promote my book. And they're like, who the hell are you? Yeah. Whereas someone like Shannon, she was, for lack of a better word, she was marinating in the community. She was very part of it. She was supportive of other people inside my live chats. She was doing moderating. She still does moderating. And that part to me means like, this person's not just here to chase clout. This person's not just here in it for themselves. And so that spoke volumes to me. That meant the world to me, that you had taken every week, you would show up and you would be in the comments and people started recognizing you. And so, yeah, when it was a case of getting connected, no brainer. I was like, I'd be stupid if I didn't get connected with you. I don't take any one person for granted. And I don't ever look at a YouTuber as a small YouTuber, putting quotations around small. That's BS.
I had like 60 subscribers the time that you reached out to me. And I
probably said, is 60 more subscribers than 0, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing I believe in. And I believe that every last person, every last viewer, every last reader matters. Absolutely matters. And so I never was like saying, well, that's a small YouTuber, I'm not going to work with him. That's never been my philosophy. Now, it needs to make sense. It needs to make sense. So there might be some small, quote unquote, small YouTuber that has 60 subscribers to 100 subscribers, comes over and is like, hey, Dale, let's collab. Okay, you got to get me more than that. You gotta, you have to present, come to the table with something. If you're ever going to reach out to an influencer, like have it to where what's in it for them.
So I wanted to kind of call out somebody who I thought did this perfectly, because like I said, over the last couple of years, I've had people ask me, how did you get connected with Dale? And I was like, it was just really organic. It wasn't like I went out of my way. I don't think he went out of his way. It was organic. I said, I can't tell you how to recreate that, because people would ask me about it. I was like, I can't tell you how to recreate that. And DL Tillery, she's been a host here on
I love DL.
podcast.
She's awesome.
She went at her own approach. She decided, you know what, I'm reading these books, I love these books, and she started doing those video reviews on your books, and that got your attention. And it was like, I don't think she went out of her way to think, oh, I'm gonna get Dale's attention. She just really liked reading your books and she talked about books on her channel. So it's just that she came up with her own way. But yes, I really thought that was, because I think DL is awesome, and so I was so happy when you guys got connected. So yeah,
love me some DL. Yes, and there's a collaboration on the horizon for the two of us, but unfortunately she knows that I've been in an avalanche of like projects and things like that. So I told her, I was like, it's going to be a while.
I think she's going through a transition period too. She's moving. So
and then
she's been tied up. Other things happening up with her. So you're offering the full Self-Publishing with Dale book series as collector-grade hardcovers, rewritten, organized, limited edition. Kind of mentioned that already. Why was this the right time to create something so special and exclusive? And I'm assuming, too, that this is exclusive to Kickstarter with the gold foil and everything, that when you do make them available next year, no one's going to be able to get that version.
No. These are all special ordered. These are all special ordered. They're not going to be available on Amazon. This is not a scarcity tactic or anything else like that. Again, I don't want a middleman between this conversation I'm having with my audience of authors. It's just nobody else is welcome. It's me and the audience, us kind of finishing these things out. The reason why I really wanted to kind of have something special like this, like the hardcover with gold foil, because come on, we're authors. We love seeing fancy friggin' books, man. Like, come on. Like, I never get tired of unboxing books. Like, I literally get I just got goosebumps just thinking about it right now. I love doing it. That's so much fun. Your name's on it. You open it up, be like, oh my gosh, I edited that 50,000 times. This is great. It is such an intoxicating feeling. And so there was a little bit of a selfish edge to that. I wanted to have a book that was hardcover, no dust jacket, because this is what I always do with dust jackets. Throw it off to the side and I start reading my hardcover book. So no dust jacket. I like the gold foiling because I did a gold foiling with another company not long ago. Not going to mention their name because it wasn't the greatest results, but nonetheless, gold foiling looked good. Sprayed edges. Dana Claire got me sold on that. She's like, you got to have sprayed edges. You have to have sprayed edges. And I was like, I do, don't I? So yeah, it was getting all those fancy things. It wasn't until like I came to the table with the Influence, that's the advisor team that is pretty much, they're managing my whole project, that I realized like I wasn't thinking big picture. I was thinking, oh, let's just go ahead and put a bunch of hardcovers out, and if anybody wants to get the digital version, there we go, we're done. And they were like, oh, that's not how Kickstarter works. And so we sat down. I would say we've done at least 3 hours between 2 meetings where we were planning out everything down to getting thumb drives that glow with my logo on it. We have mouse pads in the works, a journal, which love journaling. That's another selfish pick right there for myself because I write in journals all the time. There are so many things that are part of this. And the one thing that people have been bugging me for the last 3 years is coaching. I just don't do coaching anymore. The reason why I don't do coaching anymore is because I am so invested when I work with somebody that I typically have to put my business on hold while I'm working with them. So with that being said, this will be the absolute last time I'm doing coaching. And the reason why I'm doing it last time is as soon as I'm on fiction, that's it. I'm done. No coaching whatsoever. I know many great people. Heck, I see 3 people here right now in this podcast that are probably very qualified for coaching you up. So to me, I feel like this is my last hoorah. I'm going out with a big, huge bang. And I want it to be like a party-like atmosphere where everybody goes, you know what? Dale did have a good nonfiction career.
Thank you. First of all, that's really, really kind of you to say. And I do absolutely understand wanting to ride off into the sunset on your own terms and however you want to do it. That's wonderful to know. Now, in terms of your Kickstarter itself, a lot of authors are curious about how to launch it. I know Shannon has spoken about it on this channel before, and I have tried to be like a fly on the wall in those moments because I really want to just absorb everything and try and plan my own eventual successes there. But what have you learned from prepping your own Kickstarter that you'd like to pass on to others considering, like myself, crowdfunding a Kickstarter?
Give yourself plenty of runway. Oh my gosh, give yourself plenty of runway. And especially if you're running an ambitious project such as mine. And this was a conversation that Shannon and I had very in depth where it was like, do I do the whole series or should I do a single book? And she's like, you probably shouldn't do an entire series. And that was good, sage advice. Thankfully, because I did bring on that project management team, it has made life a little easier. But there are still other things, like they were really sweating it. This past Friday was my deadline for all the covers. And I got that last cover on Thursday. Friday was the deadline. Thursday it comes in. Gold foil's done because they needed to make sure they had all the marketing assets put together for me so we could start pushing it with the launch being on September 30th. But yeah, give yourself plenty of room. And the other thing is write the content, get it fully edited before you even think about launching a Kickstarter, because there's so many small things that are going to chew away at your day. Like there's been some days, right? I've been in my office for like 4 or 5 hours and I'm just working on Kickstarter. How I'm not getting any returns on that right now. I got to wait until this dang thing's done. And then even then, I still have to wait for the payment to come through. So give yourself plenty of runway, and also reach out to other people who've done it before. I found Shannon was super helpful and let me understand that a little bit better. I briefly spoke with Mark Leslie Lefebvre. He's done a few successful campaigns. Briefly had an email exchange with Joanna Penn. Spoke with Brian Cohan about it. Like I was getting a lot of different ideas from them. So thankfully I wasn't going into it completely blind. I will give most of my credit over to Shannon because she did spend a lot of time with me, coaching me up, because she was originally going to help me manage the project. But I was just like, what I was looking to do, I was like, that's not fair to put on my friend, unless I'm paying her as a full-time employee or something like that.
And then I would say, I mean, I know you're probably going to go with some type of fulfillment company, I'm assuming, after. So I didn't go with fulfillment company, but I've heard it the same from everybody. The fulfillment is the hardest part. It's what takes it not hard in that it takes so much time and mental energy to make sure you're getting it all right. So all the work you're putting in now doesn't compare to what it's going to be when you're in fulfillment.
Yeah. Thankfully, see, I knew for sure I wasn't going to do fulfillment at all. Only because I've had to ship out books to my readers before, and you have to get the packaging, you've got to print out the label, you've got to put the book in there, you got to autograph it, throw in some stickers, and like, before you know it, like if you've got to send out a dozen books, you've got hours of your day just completely just chipped away. And I looked at this and I didn't look at Kickstarter of like, let me get rich really quick. Again, I wanted to have it to where it was a conversation and a party with my community of authors. That's literally all I wanted to be. If I make a little extra scratch in the end of the day, fantastic. That's great. I won't lie to you. I'd like to make some money, but in the same instance, that's not my top priority. That's one of the lower priorities here. To me, I feel like I just want this to be a big celebration for everybody to kind of get together.
With your Kickstarter kind of like fueled and ready to go, and after years of leading the nonfiction space, you're moving into science fiction horror. What inspired you that leap, and what excites you the most about it?
Oh man, I love sci-fi horror. I love horror in general, but sci-fi horror is always something that has been something that it's been in me. This goes back to when I was a kid. Gosh, I was a wee-high kid, and I probably wasn't supposed to be watching any of the scary movies, but Alien was a movie that absolutely changed me, man. Like, I was scared to death of Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees and all these, and Michael Myers, things like that. But no, Alien, that set in my soul, and it never like went away. Like, oh gosh. And then you had Aliens come out. And now as an adult, I've read a number of the books that are within the franchise. A lot of people don't realize it's beyond just the movies. Like there's a whole, like there's canon to it. Like there is really like, it's deep. So that's why I'm big into sci-fi horror. I love modern authors like Nick Hutter, fantastic. The Troop. When I read that a couple years ago, I was like, oh man, I'm like, this is the direction I'm going. I know for sure this is where I want to go. A lot of people want to know, why didn't I go more broad with just horror? It's just because I know what I'm capable of. I know what I'm capable of thinking, and it typically is going to always lean towards sci-fi. There's going to be sci-fi elements. So my Kindle Vella series, Infestate, is about like these otherworldly creatures that descend upon a dying mall. Like, you know, you guys have been to those malls that are just like desolate. You're wondering like, how are they even keeping the doors open? Well, I worked at one of those malls before, and that's what drove the inspiration behind it. I had a nightmare about it one time working at GNC, and all of a sudden these creatures start to like eat people, and they're like crowding the mall and things like that. And little I know, 10 years later, I would end up starting to write a series based on it. Now, the cool thing is as soon as this Kickstarter thing's done, I've got a half a season to finish with Infestate to finish it up. And that actually is going to end up being my reader magnet. So I'm going to actually be getting some email subscribers by giving away the entire series, which I would say when that's all said and done, it's going to be somewhere close to 200,000 words.
Has anything surprised you about the shift from writing nonfiction, which is systems and service oriented, to fiction, which is more emotionally immersive and character driven?
I feel like there's more freedom. I feel like there's so much more freedom. I think I even said this at the top of our hour here, where I feel like nonfiction is great, but when I go into fiction, I feel like there's less of an inner editor in my brain when I go into fiction for whatever reason. Nonfiction, that inner editor is always interrupting. Like, you need to go do this. Like, shut up. But, fiction, yeah, for whatever reason, my inner editor is just like, you're good, whatever. I think he's like in the back of my brain, just kind of like smoking some pot and eating some food and just lazing out or whatever. So that's good. That's a good thing. So I've just discovered that writing fiction, it's a little less pressure for me. Nonfiction, though, for whatever reason, even though I'm able to easily do it.
It's because you can lie to yourself and to the readers.
Yep.
How are you approaching fiction publishing differently after everything you've learned from publishing with nonfiction? And are you going to be applying the same business principles?
Yes, I love it. Ben, thank you so much for asking that one, because a lot of the principles and practices that I've shared over the years and I've learned from different experts, I've interviewed over 150, if not, we're going on 200 guests. And I've had the pleasure of interviewing these folks and learning a lot of that. And I would just take notes. And by the way, if you ever want to learn from the experts, open up a YouTube channel and just invite them to go ahead and do an interview. It's like getting free coaching. Not even lying, not even joking. You can get somebody on and they'll be able to tell you all the secrets you need to know. My approach.
Why do you think we have this podcast?
Yeah, exactly. So my approach is going to be in building the following first. A lot of authors will go, let me write the book first and then I'll build my audience. But I'm going backwards. I'm going to build that audience and then start to do that backlist. Now, I'm cheating a little bit because I do have that series that I'll be using as a reader magnet. But that's going to be one of the things that's going to help me build my email list and start to build that hype. So I'm going to be leaning really hard into email marketing. And it's my goal to get anywhere. My ultimate goal is to get about 10,000 subscribers, email subscribers, before I launch my first novel. And I'm looking at launching that novel probably closer into 2026. But nonetheless, though, yeah, my strategy is completely different. But my main focus is going to be building that email list first and then going ahead and pushing out that publication, because I want to have that readership available. So that way, when I do launch, it's not going to flop. Because guess what? The whole world's watching me. I mean, I've got 124,000 subscribers between two channels, and I can guarantee you at least half the folks are going to be going over and looking at my books. And so I want to make sure that everything is dialed in and ready to rock and roll, because I think there's going to be some people, especially haters, that are waiting for me to mess up. Ain't going to do that.
So this transition must be bittersweet, I have to imagine, right? Your books have won over 44 awards. Your content has reached hundreds of thousands of people. Looking back, what does this moment, retiring from nonfiction, mean to you personally?
You would think that would be sad. You would think I would be disappointed to walk away from it. But honestly, it's been a crutch for me. It's been a crutch, and it's kept me from the dream that I want to fulfill. If I had another day in the week, maybe even another hour every day, maybe I could be able to do nonfiction and fiction. But I think ultimately at the end of the day, this is the best decision for where my heart's going. So a lot of people might figure it might be bittersweet, but for me, I feel like been there, done that, got the shirt to prove it. I've had my reps. Now I'm ready to be that fiction author. Now I'm ready to start from square one. And the beauty of it is I'm in a position now that people, again, are watching me. And as well, they get to celebrate with me when I have my victories. And they also get to cry with me when I have my mistakes and relate to me, because there's going to be some instances I'm sure I'm going to mess things up. But hopefully people are going to be along for the ride and can enjoy it and learn something from it.
We all make mistakes, so you'll just fit in with all of us.
Yep.
All right. So you were the first person I've mentioned several times, first one to believe in the AuthorTube Writing Conference when it was just an idea. And I know a little bit of how you felt about that, because you're like, I didn't really understand this thing until you did it. But so what is your advice for other creatives trying to start something new before it looks successful?
Oh, man. Oh, gosh. I really wish I could be able to give you a good exact answer, but sometimes intuition. It's intuition. It's a gut instinct. And if you have a good network of peers that are surrounding you, if you have folks like Jamie, if you have folks like Ben or Shannon or DL or anybody else, like volley those ideas off of them and speak with them about that. Because chances are very likely they might be able to give you more insights. They might be able to level up your ideas and take you up to that next level. But yeah, intuition. And unfortunately, gut instinct isn't something anyone can teach. That only comes through experience, comes through trial, comes through error, comes through setbacks, it comes through victories. So just be prepared. You got to rely on your gut instinct.
If you can only pass on one lesson from your nonfiction publishing career to indie authors building our businesses today, what's your best tip or trick?
Niche down. And when I say niche down, that means stay in your lane. I know we are authors. We are super creative people. Otherwise, you wouldn't be writing books. And if you're saying, I'm not creative and you've written a book, shut up. You're creative. All right. But yeah, it's just very, very simply put right there, just like that.
Okay. Can you tell us about your first fiction book and when you think it'll come out?
Okay. There's no working title for it just yet. You guys are the first to hear this. All right. It is a story that's going to take place. You ready for this? There was a little bit of foreshadowing earlier. earlier. My first book is actually going to take place in a memory care unit of a senior living community. Because I was in the business for 20 years, I have so much insights. I feel at home when I go into a senior living community. And there is a special place in my heart for those that have dementia and memory care units. There's a certain innocence to seniors when they do get dementia. And I get slightly emotional when I think about it. But I had this idea, I don't know what it was, where I thought, wouldn't it be amazing if there was just some simple solution to give senior citizens back their ability to remember, to recall, to become sharp and reclaim who they were before dementia robbed them of their personality or of different things. And so my thought was, I would love to write a story about a genetically engineered tree that would be placed in each one of the seniors' rooms. So anytime that they go to sleep, this tree is able to stimulate through, like, I don't know what it might be. I haven't flushed all this stuff out, but it will stimulate memory recall. And so this whole thing's going to work around these trees that are in each one of these seniors' rooms. But what ends up happening is a bunch of people start remembering things that they weren't supposed to. Like, that wasn't part of their life. And so then all of these seniors start to realize there's a serial killer in the midst. So there's somebody who lives there that was a senior citizen that is getting their memories back of being a serial killer, and everybody starts to think they're their own serial killer. So there's a little bit of a murder mystery, if you will, that's going to be involved with it, but it's going to definitely be sci-fi horror for how far I'm going to take it, because the serial killer is a very twisted individual. No monsters. And I think the science fiction element speaks for itself, obviously, the genetically engineered plants that they're putting into the seniors' rooms and such. But I am really excited about that one. I have no title just yet. And other than just jotting down ideas that I want to put inside the story, there's no set outline just yet. But I imagine I'll probably have that all flushed out here by the end of October.
That's pretty quick, October. So you're trying to possibly publish it by next year sometime?
I want to shoot for 2026, but I want to give myself some breathing room just because I know it'll be my first novel. And so I don't want to sit here and go, I'm going to have my first novel out by January.
Yeah.
I haven't written a first novel yet, so let's go ahead and pump the brakes. But I feel pretty confident with Jeannie in my corner that we'll definitely be able to get it out in 2026 by latest October next year.
Well, we've exceeded the time that we usually have. We do have some rapid fire questions. I'd still love to do them if you guys are all up for it. I think Dale's done rapid fire on his channel, so I think he knows answer as quick as you can.
Yep.
We don't time here, but we do say please answer as quick as you can. Yep. So I'd love to do that if everyone's good for it. Yeah. Okay. All right. What comes first for you? The characters, the setting, or the plot?
Plot.
Morning writer or night writer?
Night writer, baby.
Planner, pantser, or plantser?
Planter.
Coffee, tea, hot cocoa, or energy drink, or something else?
Something else. Water.
Wrestling match or book launch day? What's going to get your heart pumping more?
Wrestling match.
Favorite video you've ever made?
Book Rescue. The very first episode with Thomas Bradley. He's become my best friend since then. I love the guy to death. Absolutely love him. By the way, shout out to Thomas Bradley.
Most underrated self-publishing platform?
Later Press.
Complete this statement. The best part of writing nonfiction has been
reader results.
If you could co-write a fiction novel with any author, dead or alive, who would it be?
Joe Hill.
Oh.
Biggest writing distraction: cats, email, or YouTube analytics?
Cats.
When fiction Dale meets nonfiction Dale, who wins in the cage match?
Oh, probably nonfiction Dale.
If you could write any other genre in the future instead of sci-fi horror, what would it be?
Science fiction, just straight science fiction.
In your sci-fi horror future, who survives longer, a werebear shapeshifter or an alien parasite?
The werebear, of course. Nothing beats the werebear.
Oh my gosh, I had to put that in there. I was like, I gotta get werebear shapeshifter in here somewhere.
Absolutely. Yeah, nothing beats the werebear.
Well, you have answered all of our questions. Before we wrap up, can you tell our listeners where they can find you, your books, and your Kickstarter?
Yeah, you can find me just about anywhere online. Dale L. Roberts, YouTube. I have 2 different YouTube channels, so just search up Dale L. Roberts or even Self-Publishing Dale, and you'll find all the information you need to. Find my books. You can find them at every major online retailer and library. I make all of my books available, so that way it's accessible. If you don't have the money, go to the library and ask for it. And then last but not least, you want to get more information about Kickstarter. It's right now during the pre-launch leading up to September 30th when we do the full launch. If you want to get more information about that and early bird access, head on over to dalelinks.com/final3. And that'll take you on over to my final 3 books, and you can hit that notification so you don't miss out.
And we'll put all the links in the show notes and in the YouTube description box. And one thing I like to say, which I think I've mentioned in the past with Kickstarters, is that if you are in support of just uplifting the author indie community, go over and follow Dale on his Kickstarter. It costs nothing to follow him, even if it's not something you're interested in buying at this time, or maybe it's not in your budget. Just following him helps to kick it up in the algorithm on the platform. I would say YouTube, on the Kickstarter platform, so that when he launches and goes live, it reaches more people. And so all that is appreciated. And so thank you so much for joining us today and giving us all of your insight and experience, Dale.
Thank you, all 3 of you.
All right. Well, thank you so much to our listeners and our viewers. This concludes the regular episodes for season 7. We are only going to have one off-season episode on December 15th, where we'll be talking about The Art of War for Writers by James Scott Bell. And then we'll be back with season 8 on January 15th next year. And that will do it. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much to our incredible listeners and viewers for joining us on our exploration of everything self-publishing. We hope you found our podcast to be a treasure trove of insights and inspiration. If you've enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a review on your favorite podcast platform or thanks on our YouTube episodes. Don't forget, you can catch all of our past episodes on YouTube, Spotify, and other major podcast platforms. Keep writing, keep publishing, and we'll see you next time.